Hey guys, welcome back. This is Lucid, and we're going to talk about pretender design for late age Rlyeh. Well, okay, so this is for Dominions Enhanced. So we have all the Dominions Enhanced pretenders. But first, I want to talk about pretenders for vanilla, and I've got some of them. Because I have played with them, and I believe the pretender I played with was this, and I liked him. He had a few things. He got me pretty high into some magic paths that's hard for a late to get high in, like nature and death and earth, and these are really important in the late game. This also, if you put a shroud on somebody, it's going to be a very good caster shroud, just because of the reinvigoration and the arcane finesse and the MR. But it's also really good on tarts. So this is basically like a late game tart thing. So you don't need to have Gift of Health or anything. You just pop a shroud on a tart and boom, there you go. The game I ended up playing this guy in, a lot of people went tarts. We had so many tarts we ended up crashing the game because apparently there's a bug. If a tart goes insane on a fort, he'll crash the game. And how this hadn't been figured out till our game, I don't know. But me and Atlantis had both had recuperation blesses, and we had a bajillion tarts, and it was horrible. It was horrible. Honestly, my takeaway after that game is I don't really like tarts that much. I would rather... They're a lot of investment. I think I would have rather just spent the gems on other things. And it seems like whenever I needed them, they would be insane. So anyway, the tarts are great. You can do it. I don't personally love it. Against newer players, though, they have no idea how to handle tarts. So it can be extra good there, but I don't know. Experienced players, they're just something else to kill. It's not that hard. The thing that they're good as is basically a battlefield caster that's very hard to assassinate. Like, you have to fight them in battle, mostly. But they're insane, so they're a little unreliable. But, anyway. I'm not gonna smack talk tarts, but this is nice. This guy also is kind of a thug when he comes out. But by this point in the game, you're probably not going to want to use him as a thug. I did, I think, once or twice. Because these are just very good magic paths on a decent chassis. And there's times when it's nice. He's also just a phenomenal battle caster. So I use them in combat a fair amount with these paths. It's pretty solid. You can definitely have a better bless. Like you could have taken Order with this too. But you see it's one Dominion point. If you do one Dominion point builds, you must build Preachers. And you must use them as Preachers. And sometimes you can get away with the really cheap slave mages you have, which are the cheapest preachers in the game, because they're a slave and they're sacred, and they're cheap to start with. So they're phenomenally cheap at preaching. You have to make those. And then sometimes if you've let Dominion get out of control, you have to get your Holy Twos to go in there, because sometimes with too much enemy candles, Holy Ones can't handle it. And then the other thing about going low Dominion strength is you can't build temples of your own, or it will kick your Dominion strength up and then start causing pop kill in your capital. Now, if there's a low population province, you may choose to preach the Dominion up there to get more of the Rlyeh and free spawn. So that's something you can do in select provinces, but you do not want to do that in your capital. And a word from the wise, you want to get insane dudes out of your capital. Do not let insane motherfuckers in your capital, because some of them will preach. And once you have gotten your candles up in your capital past 1, it is very hard to get them back down. You basically have to build stone idols. So, anyway, it's an interesting way to play. I dug it. This guy was solid. I think I was the biggest by the end, but it was like Sakanai and I were going to have to fight it out. And we were like, let's just call it a tie. Because it was like already turned 100 and we had barely started fighting. So I think my money was on Sakanai. Probably would have won it, even though I was a little bigger. He had a much better economy behind him. But I could have maybe turned it around and pulled out a W. But anyway, this is solid. I think, I don't know. It's pretty solid. There's other things we could do. I thought about getting this guy because you can do a lot of the same stuff. Here I took the expensive recuperation bless and trashed most of my scales and took him as an expander. He can expand. Well, okay, this with Dominions Enhanced on, but he's not as good in vanilla. But I'm pretty sure I built this guy for vanilla, the King in Yellow. I think he can expand this way. I'm not actually sure when I built him. Yeah, this guy was definitely built in vanilla. I think he can expand. He's a monster. He's a kind of lousy expander in vanilla. The other thing you can get is this dude, the Void Lurker. They're special because they can twice board, and then you can teleport them on land, and then they'll die because they're aquatic only. And then you get a cool chassis. I don't know what this... Forget this bless, though. This is dumb. Now, I mean, even in vanilla, a lot of your void creatures are sacred. So, like, this could mean, like, quickened greater othernesses, but this is dumb. Don't do this. And then, what is this? This is a similar thing we had. I don't know. I originally, I think, copied this build from Genahito, which is basically taking this chassis with reforming flesh and recuperation for Tarts. I mean, it was pretty good. The other thing you can use it for is your death random star spawn. They can twice board themselves, and when they come back, they'll come back as as a white mage. The problem then is you would then have to put this on them, and you're basically giving them crappy armor in exchange for reforming flesh. And I actually don't think that's a great trade, because they're not sacred natively. So I actually don't love this for the twice boarding. But if you've already got it for the Tarts, it is worth considering for twice boarding. And then there's some cool... Okay, so now we'll switch and talk about the Dominions Enhanced Pretenders. There's a few things that we could do. So we have the same chassis. We could do this. That was originally what I was planning. I wanted to do one of the cool things, but then I was like, oh, we should do what works. Low Dominion dude here. But I was thinking, we'll talk about some of them. I'll give you a spoiler though. The one we're going to go with is going to be the King in Yellow, who is made a lot better in Dominions Enhanced. Before we get there though, let's talk about some of the cool ones we can do. This guy is actually a pretty decent expander. I tested him out. He has fear and is ethereal with good protection and a life drain tentacle. He expands great. Just great. Yeah, he's good. There's this guy, which evolves over time and eventually becomes so powerful it will go free and then start randomly moving around and conquering stuff. I think there's a way... I don't know what it is, but I think there's a way you can keep him from getting out of control. You have to do something. It says it right here. They must... Okay. These must... Starspawn have certain rituals that are performed at the Void Gate that can rein in the creature. I don't know what these rituals are. If you know, put it in the comments. But I never figured that part out. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And he's going to free spawn... I forget what it is, but some pretty cool Void creature that are pretty useful. So anyway, this is a kind of cool chassis. It was one of the ones I looked at. This is a big fucking trap. The Utter Vast. You can't take it awake. So it would be an excellent expander, but you can't do it. It has 100 map move. And I mean, there's a reason. Because with 100 map move, you could go on top of somebody's capital turn 1. Which is foreshadowing of things that could potentially happen in the future. It has damage reversal, which is really, 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 really good. Better than Blood Vengeance. It's like Blood Vengeance, but if it triggers, not only does the enemy damage, but you don't take damage. And it's innate caster. So one of the classic things to do with Utter Vast is give it death. And then it will just skelly spam and blast the shit out of things. So you have it on like fire. You do maybe a buff sequence and then fire closest, and it's going to mind blast the crap out of stuff while spamming skeletons out. And then when things close in, it's going to mostly murder them. Now I've made it sound like it's cool. The problem is you get it dormant, which is fine, right? So it comes out, okay, you have a cool tool. It's not really a super combatant though, guys. It's a heavy thug, all right? If you have late game battle magic and stuff, like maybe if you do Soul Drain with it, you could call it a super combatant. It would be pretty hard to kill then. But even then, like, you could set up stuff to kill this guy. It is an extremely expensive heavy rating chassis. That's how I like to think about it. So coolness factor way up there. Value, not so great. It's expensive. I don't like. I've killed a lot of these guys in multiplayer games. I've probably killed this guy at least 6 times in multiplayer games with different players. It's a trap, in my opinion. It's a cool trap. I like it, but it's a trap. Void Lord, kind of cool. This life drain tentacle does a boatload of damage, and it is attached to his head, which means you don't get a head slot, but if you give him weapons, it does not go away. So like a vampire lord or something, you give him weapons, his life drain attack goes away. This guy, not so much. Tentacle head is still ready to go. He also has acid splash, which is like fire shield, but acid damage. And then he has all the resistances already, and he has fear. He is a super combatant, for sure. For sure. Very solid. I dig. I definitely dig. I considered this guy. He's very cool. The other thing, and I made pretenders for this, we're not even going to go look at him, but the Psionic Dragon, this is a Boz mod pretender, this is not part of DE, but Boz tried to make some cool dragon pretenders. This guy is notable for being Innate Caster 2. That means every spell gets cast as if it were a 50% casting time spell, which is really good. It means you can get off you can get off Master and Slave before anybody gets off anti-magic. But, and this is where the problems start coming in, but he doesn't have arm slots, so it can't be super high penetration. So that's a problem. The other problem is this guy he's like, okay, you're going to either, like, let's say you want him to be a Master and Slave caster, right? That is the use case that you pay for, in my opinion, when you get this guy, because he's Innate Caster 2, which is really good. You do that, you're going to then take him imprisoned, right? So you're going to go like this. You're going to take him in prison. He's going to have to be high astral, so you're going to have to pay for that. You could maybe get away with 7, or maybe even 6, but probably you want to go 8. You're doing it for this. And you can see we have a lot of design points to spend. So like, I mean, this wouldn't be bad, right? This wouldn't be bad. It's basically like a scales build. We don't really need Dominion. You could get a little bit if you want to. And then you have this cool guy coming out. And you get to get, like a Pin Bless or something. Which this is going to be kind of similar to what I do. But there's a better option. And the thing is, like, what if you're next to Pelagia, right? And, okay, sure, it's mostly scales. Sure, it's mostly scales, but I don't know. It just... Expansion with Late Age Rlyeh, you can do scales. It's just not very fast, especially in the water. The water expansion's a little slow. So, what do I think? Oh god, what do I think? I think you could do this if you were playing with Bosmod, and it's kind of cool. It's like a really long payoff. Like, paying anything for getting something that's only going to be available really and useful at turn 60 is really bad. And if you got this guy like Awake or Dormant, he kind of sucks early. He has Enslaved Mind, which he can spam with 5 ammo, which is cool. It's basically like the Aboleth ranged attack. But, yeah. No. Like, 5 ammunition. He can't really... In my mind, it's just too delayed in terms of the payoff. It's too delayed. And he sucks at expanding. That's the other thing. So, I don't know what the thing is for this guy. I haven't figured it out. Maybe if he had, like, built-in body ethereal, he could expand or something, but I don't know. It's cool. I wanted it to work and maybe take it away and, I don't know, sack a shit ton of scales, but we thought about it. We decided not to. The other thing... well, let's pull it back up. We'll see which other ones we want to talk about here. Okay, we should just talk like in theory. If you're playing Dominions Enhanced, what types of things might you want? Regeneration is actually pretty legit because a lot of your void creatures are sacred. Some of them have regen built into them, but they could always use more. And yeah, getting regen on things that are lucky with Ethereal and maybe have Astral Shield on them is pretty good. And it can also go on your star spawn from your cap, and it allows them to thug a good bit easier. So, you know, you could do something like take this lady, and you're not going to need the regen for expansion because you're not going to be expanding with Sacred Troops. You could go dormant, maybe try to control Mother Oak or something when you wake up. And then you do something like this. You could go recuperation, but you could also just go regen, right? Not that expensive. You still get to have some pretty nice scales. You always tank temperature underwater. I like doing the heat tank with Dominion for Rlyeh because that way you get water elementals, which in my opinion are superior to ice elementals when you're fighting on land or assassinating with water bottles. It also means you're not going to get hit by Murdering Winter, which your Meteorite Guard do not like. And yeah, you can't take full luck or anything, but like this is fine. You do something like this, and then it pops up and you have regenning Sacreds. You could do something like that. Nobody would shame you, or I wouldn't. Somebody will shame you, I won't. Never me. There's a bunch of pretenders. We're not going to talk about them all. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the one. Floating Mind's also cool, by the way. He's cool. He's got this Soul Leech attack, which is an area of effects of defense does not negate life drain attack, which is pretty badass. It does have an MR negates effect, but I think this makes it do half damage. I don't think it will actually cancel it. But I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a very strong attack. And then he's got this Flaming Tentacle thing, which also has area of effects. Very good unit. It has Astral Fetters, which means you can't teleport away, which is really cool. These are really hard to find. Like this type of unit, one of the most rare tags in the game. Very cool. Also an innate caster, so potentially can be really strong. Very cool chassis. Okay, but we're going to talk about what we're going to get. And what we're going to get is this guy. Why? Like the Utter Vast, he has Mat Move 100. Unlike the Utter Vast, he doesn't have, you know, that much HP, right? It doesn't have these amazing stats. Doesn't have 4 Mind Blasts. He doesn't have Blood Vengeance. There's some things he doesn't have. But you know what he does have? He's got item slots. He's got a lot of item slots. The only one he's missing is feet. Now, the changes they made from Vanilla to Dominion's Enhanced are significant for this guy. I think they made him cheaper. They gave him Fear and they gave him Awe, which combine very well together. And Fear will ramp up a bit if you get some more death. They gave him Blunt Resistance. Or no, he had that already. I think they gave him Poison Resistance. And they gave him Ethereal. But the combination of giving him Ethereal and Awe and Fear is enormous. It is enormous. Ethereal especially. For expansion, it matters a ton. And he has a built-in life drain attack. And the thing with this is, so this is basically like regen even when you're not in Dominion. And even when your HP is kind of low. Like, even if you're an enemy Dominion where your HP isn't that much, normally your regen would tank because it's based on your HP, but not life drain. So, yeah, it's this is a very good attack. You know, he would benefit from like a plus attack item or something like that. He also has, and also plus strength. He wouldn't mind those. But tentacles are armor piercing, and this is armor piercing. So this guy actually is going to be very good at dismantling high protection units, especially with a little bit of a strength boost. Which I'll have to think about what the good ways to do that are. They've also made him a teleporter, and I think that's why he gets Mat Move 100. So yeah, he also gets Dominion Spreader too. There's so many things there. Here's my summary, guys. The guy who made Dominion's Enhanced, Red Rob, awesome guy. He thought LA Rlyeh was weak. I disagree. So we're picking a nation that he buffed massively when I think it was probably fine to begin with. And in this particular chassis, he must have looked at it and thought, this is complete garbage. Complete garbage. Because if he thought it was like, okay, he'd been like, okay, well, let's just give it Fear and Awe. And then you can like maybe expand with it. Right? But he's like, no. We need to give it Fear and Awe and Ethereal. Now it can expand. And he's like, okay, well, it can expand, but it can't expand that great. Let's also give it Dominion Spreader. And let's give it Teleport. I mean, guys, I can't stress how broken this hero is. This Pretender. It is the most broken Pretender I think I've ever seen. It's the most broken. I literally have not been able to kill it in test games. I think it hasn't been... I don't think anybody's ever tried to take it. Like, I don't know how you can have a mod that tons of people play all the time. Like, this is one of the most popular mods in Dominions. And people not to know how broken this guy is. It is so unbelievably strong. It can turn one go on anybody's cap on the whole map. You control people to your heart's content. I mean, I could literally remove some player by the game, just immediately go on their cap, turn one, blind expand onto it. With Rlyeh, we get 3 Pearl income too. We also turn one, Forge or Construction, 0 armor. And then we go on their cap. Easy. Easy, 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 easy. We're not going to do that because I actually don't think it's the right... Not just because I'm a nice guy. Because I am a nice guy. But I'm the nice guy who at least thinks about this kind of stuff. I'm not that nice. But that's not the reason we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it just because we're nice. We're not going to do it because I don't think it's a good play. I have... On a map like Boss Mode, being able to move anywhere whenever you want with somebody that's immune to normal troops, you can imagine it might have important value. And for me to really demonstrate that, I have to show you the map. So here's a test game I think I have set up. So we spawned here. We used them at the beginning to help clear our cap circle. And in this particular map, I spawned 11 underwater nations. So there'll be underwater nations in all of the capitals. And we expanded here. We got the choke points really early that pinned these guys in. And they're choke points that we're able to like PD dump if we want to. Like if there are a lot of guys here, we could PD dump. Like you got 21 here. We might put more. This is a little late. This is like turn 17. But I think we were like 26 provinces for expansion, which is very nice. But there's some important things on this big map. One is that there are a lot of these major lake systems are not really connected to the outside world. This one is only connected through here. And this one, well, and through this star, right? But this star is not a sea. So like for an underwater nation to get in, how do they get in? There's a few ways. One is they can get in through this squid or through this jellyfish or whatever. I don't know why I can't click it. And you go check that. It looks, I think... This looks broken. I gotta go check the map. But anyway, suffice it to say, you can get in through the jellyfish over here. But that only gets you into the... Well, and then from here you can get up into this. But there's no water nations that start here. So this would be very late getting populated. And I would be very happy, very contented to be that water nation. I will be that water nation. So this is one of the areas no water nations start. And is basically free real estate. The other place is down here. No water nations start in here. Now, there's 2 ways onto this world. One is through this system here. And another is over here. You can get on, again, through the jellyfish. So controlling the jellyfish actually might be super important. Because if I control the jellyfish, you can also get onto it through the seahorse, but this is land. And get onto it through here. And then from here, this actually goes into the water system over here. But this actually is a long way away from start locations. The start locations on this map are over here and over here. And I've gone through this in proofread connections, but I had nothing to do much with the major construction of the map. Like, I've just done some proofreading. So it's not like... I mean, here's what I'm trying to say, guys. If I'm not going to abuse something that I made, but somebody else made it, I'm happy to abuse it. So... where the hell is my god? I need to just show you. I need to show you what we're dealing with, okay? Oh, Silent Seas is the other one. We took the start. Having an underwater start here is just horrible. It's like a death sentence for these land nations. I mean, it's absolutely horrible. Unless there's a big skill difference between the land nations and the underwater, it's a really bad deal. So the idea was like, let's get rid of it, and let's give no way to get onto Silent Seas. Or this one can get on from a star, not like an underwater thing. Yeah, this is not an underwater thing. So there's no underwater way on the planet. Okay? But guess who doesn't give a fuck? My God, wherever I put him. I think he's up here now. He's on one of these worlds. Wait, where the hell did I put him? I know he didn't die. I literally have been unable to kill him. I just blind send him in wherever. He doesn't give a fuck. Like here, I sent him in... Let's look at the hardest water province we can find. This is his kit, okay? Like 80 shark tribe. Oh no, what if I blind sent somebody and there were 80 shark tribe? He doesn't care. Wait, where do I have him again? Okay, I see. Because we're going to have to go shopping. We're going to look for hard stuff. The heavy cav wouldn't care about. Tritons we don't care about. These guys... Okay, there's definitely a problem there that I can't click that. Don't care about. Shamblers definitely don't care about. Is there an underwater throne, maybe? An underwater throne can kill him because he doesn't have any of the resistances. And things like Skelly spam can kill him, and things like water elemental spam can kill him. But normal troops are not in that group. And I have no idea how hard these thrones are. Are any of these underwater thrones? It was a little boring. I mean, is there really no one? I'll just show you this battle. Just trust me, I have literally been unable to kill him. Skeletal body, which is actually pretty nice to get. There's a lot of these underwater things. He didn't take any damage. He's higher HP than when the fight started. Alright. He will kill... Okay, if he fights like 60 or 80 Shark Tribe, they will sometimes get him to half health. Yeah, I'm sure if he got really unlucky, he could die. Absolute beast. And the thing is he doesn't fall off like the Uttervast does. He gets better because we can give him a kit. And furthermore, you remember that spell I was telling you about in the previous thing where you can make magic beings and 8 casters? Oh yeah, that applies to pretenders. So that was one of my criteria. I wanted to have a pretender that was a magic being. So this guy's going to be able to do Master and Slave, but unlike the other dude, he's not going to be an innate caster 2. He's going to be 1. But he's going to have full pin kit. And I can kit him out to be a thug, and he can do Soul Train. So in my opinion, much better than the dragon. And because he can make me absolutely huge. Like, I can just set decent borders. It doesn't have to even be awesome borders. Like, decent borders on whatever planet I spawn on. And then I'm just going to fight like a madman to get a foothold on these other planets. And I might do after this a single player game. We'll see. Where I just play, like I record me playing this. We'll see, because I need to get... The expansion's tricky. There's a bunch of weird things about doing this. Like, if you conquer this remotely, you don't have mage... Like, I'd have to use my god turn, send him here, make a lab, so I can start getting mage production. But to finish expansion, I don't actually need mage production. I mean, to finish expansion, I really just need troops. Because, like, I'm going to get a foothold on several of these worlds, and then I'm just going to go to town. But this jellyfish is super important. Anyway, guys, I'll pull back up the pretender design thing. Well, I'll show you what we finished with. Here is the monster. Astral 8, Death 3. The Death 3 is really just so that we can do... I don't even think we're going to twice burn this guy, to be honest. I mean, we could. But I don't see why we'd want to. He's just too badass. Like, teleporting is so good. And if we twice born him, we would lose that. I'd rather just take, like, if he dies, I'd rather just summon him back. So anyway, the death isn't for that, but it's for Soul Vortex and Soul Train and invulnerability and stuff. I'd like to take it higher, but Death 3 will be enough. Death 3 with like a Ring of Sorcery or Wizardry will get us up to Death 5 and all of that business. So it'll be nice to have the Death access. We don't need anything from the Bless. Like Withering Weapons, would that be fine? There's some units that would not mind having Withering Weapons on them. You know, we could do that, but I don't think it's going to win the game, and it's a little more expensive. So I think what we're going to do, something like this. The other thing that's worth pointing out is because you're going to be shuffling a lot of troops around, there's a strong argument that can be made for Arcane Command, because you'll get a lot of these little sacred priest dudes who are free spawned. You can use those to shuffle around your troops. We're just going to... I would rather have the MR and stuff for late game. So we're just going to take that, the MR, and the... all the other things, we will... like all the troop movement, we'll just handle with the Illithid Lords, these dudes who have magic leadership. It's going to be a little expensive, but whatever. We'll deal with it. All right, so the build, we need production for Meteorite Guard. We're going to tank heat, because this will get capped down to heat 1 in underwater provinces, so it's kind of a free tank. And we're going to be very much underwater. I think we're going to try to make peace with all our land neighbors. We're going to need a few land provinces to get the Void Cultists, but aside from that, we're going to try to conquer the underwater systems of the world, I think. But this will all change. There's just time thinking about it. Okay. And he's awake. Why is he so damn expensive? What am I doing wrong? Oh, we had to tank Misfortune. That's why. And you can see it doesn't quite pay for itself, so we take a hit here, and we can get one of these. Now, if I wanted to have it with 4, it would make boosting death a bit easier, and it does give us the Withering Weapons Bless. And there's a few of our Sacreds that would not mind having Withering Weapons. It doesn't apply to Mind Blast or anything. But like the things that should not be... all of our Sacred, basically, dudes would have this on them. And it's not bad. I mean, to do it, what would we tank? Probably one of these. Do like this, a little bit higher Dominion. I mean, maybe it's worth it. It's a little easier to do Soul Drain, too. Because Soul Drain, you do need to be Death 5, which with Power of the Spheres you would be. With this, I'd probably have to put like a ring on him. But I don't know. This is probably equally good or better in other ways, worse in some. It's also going to bump your fear up a little bit because of higher death, you know. But I don't think you're going to get a lot of value out of Withering Weapons, to be perfectly frank. I mean, it would be good to apply Decay to a bunch of units in a long, drawn-out fight. But I don't know. It's basically like if you lose an army, you may cause a lot of attrition on the enemy side afterwards, too. You could take Undead Command or something as well, but I think for expansion and stuff, like, better to take the Productivity. And I also would rather, I mean, you could just go Dominion 2. We'll go Dominion 3. The other thing to talk about is Dominion. So if you're playing vanilla, my recommendation is be Dominion 1 and try to stay at Dominion 1 all game. Which means no temples, hardly. And you only built 3 temples. So, in Dominion's Enhanced, you need more free spawn to get all the pearls you're going to want to get. So I think as you unlock, at the beginning of the game, when you don't have that technology, you don't want the Dominion. It doesn't cause pop kill in Dominion's Enhanced. It causes unrest. But the unrest, you still have to patrol it down, which costs money or units or time, and it kills population. So I'd rather have less of it at the beginning. As the game goes on, the equation changes and it becomes more valuable to have more of the free spawn so you can get more pearls. So I think the plan for this, we start with low Dominion. We're going to build forts. We're going to fort up as it goes. and we're going to build a lot of temples as it goes. And that will create a lot more Dominion strength. So anyway, as time goes on, as the game shifts to later, we will have high Dominion. Things will be going batshit crazy, but at the beginning, it won't be like that. That is the plan, and I'll have to think more. We might... I don't think it's worth it for Withering Weapons. I think we're just going to stick at Death 3. Yeah, pretty sure. Then, well, come to think of it, I mean, we have a lot of crappy free spawn that would be made better by Withering Weapons. Do I really need Astral 8? I mean, that would be an okay trade. Huh. I'll have to think more on this, but the name of our god is going to be Bubbles, and we are going to, because there's a YouTube video, Man Who Stole the World. If you watch Trailer Park Boys, Bubbles does a cover of Man Who Stole the World by David Bowie, and I think that would make a fitting leader. Bubbles in a space, in a yellow robe, as the leader of our galactic squid civilization. So wish me luck, boys. I'm not sure I'm going to... Honestly, I feel like we're probably going to get knocked out early, but I feel like I'm going to abuse this game. Like, absolutely abuse it. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.